Hi, this is Stuart from the Norfolk Honey Company. On a previous video where we've performed an artificial swarm, we separated a colony into two separate hives, and we've now come back a week later to check on progress and to check that the queenless colony is producing queen cells and see how the queen has performed on the position of the original hive. So the hive that we're looking at the moment is the hive that was full of new frames of foundation with the old queen placed in the middle on an old frame that had space for her to lay in. So I'm just going to have a quick look through this one, and we'll try and show you the queen and have a quick look at how many frames of foundation they've actually started pulling. So just a little smoke just to calm them down, and it will just be a very quick check. And already I can see that they're pulling the sheets of foundation. So this one, you can see this corner is well underway. And what we'd like to see is several frames drawn and with eggs being laid into them. So after 1 week, the bees have really done a good job in pulling quite a few of the frames. And they're nice and calm bees, they don't need lots of smoke. So this was the original frame that the queen was on, and she's had plenty of space, so she's laid a lot of brood in this area. So we'll just have a quick look through. So we've got eggs and brood, so we know that she's fine, and these girls can just carry on now, continuing to work and draw the rest of the frames. And again, this frame is loaded with eggs, so these workers will emerge in approximately 21 days time, and we should then have a nice colony growing. Again, just give them a bit of smoke just to stop from crushing bees as you close up the frames. Just take one more frame out and have a look. And again, the queen has been laying eggs in this frame. So that's pleasing, that's really good to see. So what we need to do now is to close these up and then go back to the original hive, which we moved, and we'll check to see if there are queen cells. And then we need to select, my personal preference is to select just one queen cell and destroy all the others, because you don't want to encourage any swarming. And so we'll go through that, have a look at them, and hopefully we can show you some queen cells. Okay, so this is the original hive where we removed the queen, repositioned it in the apiary, so all the flying bees went back to the original hive site, and now we're going to go through here, check for queen cells, select one that we want to keep, and we'll be looking for a well-formed plump queen cell, and then we'll destroy all the others, and I'll show you how we do that, and then we'll leave them for a couple of weeks so that the queen can emerge and hopefully get mated and start laying, and then we'll come back and complete the process and show you hopefully two separate thriving colonies. So let's get started and just have a look through, and this needs to be a methodical, close inspection to make sure that you don't miss any queen cells, because you don't want to leave Personally, I think you should just leave the one queen cell. Some people leave more, but that, I think, just allows the bees an opportunity to swarm. If they only have one queen cell, then they can't swarm. So here's a frame with several queen cells. So we've got 5 queen cells on this particular frame, none of which look fabulous, but we'll and then again on this side we've got several queen cells, and they can be hidden quite well. So this is a queen cell in here, so you have to be very careful that you don't miss them. So we've got one at the bottom there that looks quite nice. So we'll just go through, before we start destroying queen cells, we want to make sure that there aren't any better queen cells, because we'll be shaking all the bees off the frame. And we want to make sure that we don't dislodge any immature queens from the queen cells. So again, to knock the bees off, just gentle tap down with the fleshy part of your thumb. And so on this frame we have no queen cells, so that one's okay. There is a tendency, here we have another queen cell, there is a tendency to hide them at the sides of the frames. But I think at the moment the queen cell that we've seen on the first frame out trumps these ones, so I'm going to shake these bees off, and then we're going to destroy these queen cells. So we'll start with this one in the corner, and simply take your hive tool, press it against your thumb and just tear it away, removing the queen cell, and then keep the queen cell to one side so that you can take it away and not leave any rubbish behind. So on this side, another immature queen cell there, which we'll cut out. We'll just shake them off again. So we have one here. And we'll cut that one out. At the bottom. So we're happy that this frame is now completely clear of queen cells. There don't appear to be any on this frame, so we'll knock the bees off and double check. So I've shaken the bees off and this frame is clear, so we'll move on to the next one. Don't appear to be any queen cells on this one, so we'll shake the bees off. And the bees are storing lots of nectar. No queen cells there. And this one looks mostly drone brood along the bottom, but again we'll shake the bees off and then we can show you some drone brood as well. Okay, so these larger cells are drone brood and the smaller, flatter cells are worker brood. And over here we've got a drone just emerging from the cell. which is always nice to see. I'll leave him to continue his struggle. And just a couple more frames, and then we'll go back to the first frame and just check. So again, on this one we've got several queen cells, but none that I like the look of. They look weaker than the originals. So here we have some that have been buried in, and there's a varroa mite. You can just see near my hive tool a varroa mite. So we'll need to be thinking about summer treatments for these bees, but that's something that we'll do another video on. So we're just going to cut these cells out. The bees will repair the frame, so don't worry about tearing some of the cells down. The bees are quite adept at repairing any damage that we make to the frames. And the final frame now. And this frame is all stores, so no need to worry about queen cells on that particular frame. So we'll now come back to the original frame and just close those frames up. Okay, now on this one we can't shake the bees off because we may dislodge the queen from the cell that we want to keep. So we need to just gently move the bees away, and then we'll take out the queen cells that we don't want to keep manually. So we have one queen cell here, and then there is another one on this side. I think we'll keep this one here, so we'll just take out the queen cell on the opposite side. And then have a quick look through just to make sure there are no other queen cells. You can quite happily just move the bees with your fingers, they won't sting. Famous last words, I know. Please don't write in and say that you were doing it and got stung. But it's very rare that they'll sting. Okay, so that is all of the queen cells except the one that we're leaving removed. So we'll pop them back into the hive. So we know that it's the darker frame. You could use a drawing pin, or some people will score a cross. Well, let's do that. Let's score a cross on the top. So there, we've just marked the top of the frame with an X to show that that's the one that we're keeping. And then we'll just double check the last two frames. And this last one is just foundation, so we know that that's okay. And that's the process. So now we have a single queen cell that is capped, that will emerge over the next week or so. Then we need her to go off and successfully mate and get back to the colony. So we know we'll leave these for 2 weeks, and then we'll come back again and see if she's mated successfully, and hopefully have a new colony raring to go and to start foraging. I hope that's been of interest. Please like the video and subscribe if you'd like to follow it up or have a look at some of the other videos, and we'll catch up with you next time. Thanks for watching.